Well, welcome back. You know, when you start off a business, it's just a small startup. There's you, your management team, and possibly a couple of angel investors who've helping you. Maybe the family's invested. And you might possibly, as a next step, say to yourself, possibly I should put together an advisory board, just somebody to knock stuff around with that is out of the company in a way, but close enough that they can help and that they care. So advisory boards are not uncommon, and I think they're an extremely useful device for you. Two reasons for that. Number one, you always need to have somebody you can talk to outside of your business if you're the entrepreneur, founder, CEO. Some 85% of the S&P 500 CEOs canvassed by McKinsey said, I really want a mentor outside that I can just talk to. And I think an advisory board really works well in that capacity. The other reason it works well is that you tend to be kind of sucked into the vortex of the business and the challenges day to day. And it's tough to get out of all that stuff and take a medium to longer term look as to where you are and where you want to go and how you're going to get there. And an advisory board in a way gives you a chance to breathe, get out of the minutiae, think again of being at 20,000 feet and looking at the opportunity before you go back into the minutiae. So that's one reason why I think an advisory board is a really good addition to your armory of potential candidates to help you build a business. The second reason is I deeply believe that you have to take time to reflect. And an advisory board is a great vehicle to allow you to do that. Because if the meeting's coming up next weekend, you've got 3 or 4 people you respect and admire who are coming in just to talk about your business, you have to stop and think about you, how you're doing, what's happening, what might happen, how good your team is. You have to be reflective. Peter Drucker, arguably the greatest management thinker of the last century, said to be effective, you have to be reflective. To be effective, you have to be reflective. So an advisory board also is a forcing device then to make you reflect on what you're doing, because you've got to communicate it to people who are from outside, who basically are investing, 1 or 2% of the time you're investing in the company. And so they're a very valuable resource, but only if you have thought through what it is you want to teach them about your business so they can help advise you about taking it forward. So advisory boards are a very good place to start. They're informal, but they do require discipline on your part, and it does then mean that you have to become more reflective about your business, and you've got to have a backdrop to bring them into your affairs so they can add value. As time goes on, you probably want to regularize your advisory board more and more. I mean by that, the meeting times, maybe the meeting frequency should be established and established as a regular basis, once a quarter, once every 2 weeks, once every 4 weeks, whatever. Then you should get more and more attention paid to the briefing papers for the advisory board. Am I really bringing them into the picture? And it's beginning to look as a more formal apparatus than just sort of a casual grouping of friends chatting over a beer. And that's a nice evolutionary path, because that might eventually take you into a fiduciary board where the responsibilities of the directors are to the corporation, not to you. But that's a big step away. So I'm happy if you have an advisory board and it's adding value. And I'd encourage you to think about the talent you have around that advisory board as it gets more formalized, moving from family and friends to maybe an industry expert, to maybe somebody who has done this before. We say in one of our incubators that we're involved with at the University of Toronto, we like to have somebody involved in a startup who's seen the movie before, so you can avoid common pitfalls. And so you can focus on the things that are going to matter to build. The other thing we do in the Creative Destruction Lab is insist that the board, together with the management team, the mentor and the management team, come up with the 3 things you've got to do to build the business in the next 6 months. Every entrepreneur has a million things to do by noon, but are they the things that are going to help the company grow and survive, or are they not? So helping figure out those top 3 priorities so that you can execute them with certainty is a really vital part of your endeavor startups. So advisory boards, yes, Move them beyond family and friends and start thinking about some external experts. That'll start to migrate it from a casual sort of interchange to a much more structured one, and I think that will add the potential of considerable value added to the long-term trajectory of your startup and your business.